welcome to Sessions Canceled podcast. Isaiah got ripped into the warp today, so Sessions canceled. I guess this is where, Josh, you can plug. Go ahead, buddy. Do your thing.
That was a little quick. I was gonna say though, you always come in so much calmer than the rest of us, Sam.
I know.
So much more relaxed. It's all good.
One of us has to be.
That's fair. That's fair. There was another thing I was gonna say that I have now blanked on. Hopefully I'll remember it later. But anyway, if you like what you're hearing, hit follow and or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to on. That'd be nice. Big fan. Would like.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh! Okay, it just came to me. Good timing. Also, if you're listening and you haven't checked out our, any other episodes, if y'all be so kind as to give episode 45, The Internet's Bad Take, some loves, because Isaiah put a lot of research into it, and for some reason that one not getting a lot of love right now. So that was it.
Probably because it's about bad takes.
I don't know. I think the algorithm is punishing on us on that one for some reason. I don't know why, but it seems like it is.
You put the word bad in here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Atticus.
I don't know.
But it was a very funny episode, and Isaiah did a lot of good research to collect the takes in question. So,
I remember dying and seeing the posts come in about what the bad takes were.
Yeah.
Very confused.
Yeah,
because I forgot what the subject was.
Yeah,
and I was just like, "What does this mean?"
Yeah. Sam just saw them coming into chat with no context.
Is this their opinion? Please don't tell me it is. At one point, I was like, "Oh no, this can't be. This is too bad of a take."
Yeah.
Like when I saw the armor subtract from damage instead of making it harder to hit, I was like, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway.
I'm just saying, guys, flashbacks, they just slow down the game. We just gotta get them out of here.
That one still haunts my dreams.
I don't know about slowing down. Anyway.
Does the opposite, in fact.
Obviously, Isaiah is not here with us today. So it's just myself, Josh, and Matt. And today we're going to talk about rewarding your players with combat and how well they do with combat, or rewarding their role playing, or both.
Not the bedroom role playing.
No. Why'd you have to make it weird?
I don't know.
Chaos Whisper just starts playing in the background.
I don't know. I just felt like taking it in a weird direction. Mission to go.
Always remember to start off with a safe word.
Correct.
Bananas.
Sure.
Anyway, so I've given you guys some questions to think about, formulate over. The first one being,
I'll pretend like I looked at those. Sure.
I listen. They're more for Matt than anybody else.
All right, fair enough.
Thanks, I appreciate you.
Listen. Matt will come at us and be like, "Hey, I don't know what the fuck that means."
Look,
so I've gotten into the habit of giving Matt some questions to think about.
I like doing it on the fly. No thinky, only reactions. No think, head empty.
Okay. Well, so the first question. Thank you, Matt, for reading. I know it's hard for you.
No, he reads stuff from you.
Yeah, but it's still hard.
No, remember, Josh, you don't read shit from me.
That still holds true.
That's the joke. Not that I don't read anything you post.
Someone has to repost whatever Matt sends so that Josh can read it.
Yeah.
It's just some weird eldritch curse.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on there.
Because when Matt sends it, it just looks like garbled elven runes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That took a while to get up, but it's all right. We're here. Everybody.
Sam, take this away from me. I'm stupid today.
Listen, I'm also stupid today. I'm half asleep at the wheel right now. Jesus is driving this podcast right now.
Never mind. I was gonna keep going down that route. Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll pose this question to Josh first, because has more experience with both. Do you think it's necessary or optimal to give both reward, experience or just rewards in general for doing well in combat and role playing? I know my answer.
Do I think it's necessary to reward for both? Is that basically what you're saying?
Depending on the system, of course, but yeah, necessary or optimal. Just gives the players the feel good juice.
No, I don't think it's a requirement to reward for either of them. I think there's lots of other ways that you can do it. I mean, those are the two most common. But no, I don't think. I think a lot of games forego combat reward. That's pretty standard.
Yeah. They'll usually do something like, for instance, Blades in the Dark. It has a built-in system with your traumas that if you roleplay them well, that's stuff.
Yeah, well, there's that, and then the thing with Blades. Since you brought, I knew Blades was gonna come up at some point. I just didn't think it would be so fast.
I know the entire time I was writing this, I was thinking about Blades.
Yeah, well, so the thing. Okay, there's probably gonna be a follow-up question where I will go to this more. But the thing about Blades,
literally the second question.
Okay, yeah, all right. So the thing I'll say right this moment is, so not rewarding for combat. Lots of games do that. That's very normal. And now you might say to yourself, well, then you have to reward for role playing. That's the only other option. At which point I say, yes, but also no. Yes, with an asterisk.
Yes. Caveat to the yes.
As a thing with Blade, it's as an example using Blade. Every character or every playbook in Blades, which is roughly Blades' equivalent of a class, you have a list of actions or objectives for your specific playbook, and if you act out or participate in any of those, get XP. So, for example, if you're playing a cutter, one of your options is you address a challenge with violence or coercion. You get XP if you do that at least once per session. 2 XP if you did it multiple times per session. Blades uses very small XP number. And then the other way you can get XP is just by rolling your abilities. And I think it's every time you fail. No, I forget how the roll XP works. But when you just roll actions, you can also get quickly. Unless I'm confusing it with another game. I'm actually now doubting myself as I'm saying this.
I believe the failure one is Dungeon World.
I know Dungeon World does it, but I thought Blades had a similar thing. But now that I'm thinking about it, it might not.
I think it's when you trauma out or whatever.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, I don't think it's when you specifically fail. I think it's when you trauma out.
Oh no, sorry. It's right here on the playbook. Oh, this is the other thing I really like about Blades is they have all the XP triggers on your playbook. So in other words, on your character sheet for your character.
Yeah, you can just see them at all times.
Every time you roll a desperate action, you get XP in that action. Okay. So anytime a desperate action in Blades for you, Matt, but also for anyone listening, a desperate action in Blades is like anytime you're trying to do something that is really challenging. So if you imagine it like a really high DC check in D&D, it's kind of like that. What the fuck? Sorry. I was making weird noises. So yeah, anytime you roll a desperate action, you get XP, which is basically just like, like I said, if you're trying to do something that's very difficult or you're kind of in a bad position to be doing it. And I would argue that those aren't role-playing rewards, at least not in the way that most people think of quote-unquote role-playing.
Not the DM going, here's a cookie for doing well. The game literally has it built in.
Which is, So Sam, I have a feeling I know where I'm going to go with this next, but Sam, I'll let you.
Okay. Matt, now that you've listened to a different way to reward the players, what do you think, Matt? What do you think?
Well, actually, when I kind of read the question at first, I thought it was when you're like rewarding combat versus role playing. My head immediately went to not like rewarding like XP or anything. My initial thing was like feel good.
Yeah, literally anything. you know,
Yeah, okay.
inspiration, experience. That's why I didn't say experience. Like it could be, you know, an item, a bonus to something, experience, or in D&D's case, you know, inspiration, something mechanical.
Yeah.
I think the
That's
main
weird.
point. I think the main point is something a mechanical reward specific.
A mechanical. Okay, because I
As opposed
initially
to,
took
like,
it as a.
You're thinking like a role playing, like a
I'm thinking like a role, like a
in-
feel good, like a role play, like because I
in-universe
literally.
reward.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
wrote in like, oh, you know, you should, because my initial thought was like, you should. It's not necessary, but you should try. But now
Mhm.
that's like some sort of like something like an inspiration or like the
Yeah,
Blades of the Dark
it could
mechanic.
it could be something in universe or
Yeah.
out. You know, mechanical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Maybe no. I was just saying, that's the thing. I think, like in my head, I want to say there should be something, but I kind of am with Josh, where it's like I don't think it's 100% necessary.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why.
if
That's why I think it's optimal to at least attempt to give both.
Yeah.
Or all like try to reward your players for doing good things. And by
Oh
saying
yeah,
by good, I don't mean playing good characters. I
Mhm.
mean literally like being good players.
yeah. Because I think like, because there's gonna be times where like you try to make a combat encounter and it
Mhm.
sucks, but maybe the role play for that session like made up for it, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe maybe people should try. Always try to like knock it out of the park, but you know, fucking shit happens. That one encounter you thought was going to be amazing ends up being a slog, and everybody hated it. You're like,
Or
fuck
really
me.
quick.
Or really quick, yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I
The big
prepped
bad
this
died in the
encounter
first
for
session.
6 hours and you guys killed it in 2 minutes.
Where's
Congratulations.
what was that meme where it's like, all right, so we have the paladin with a 29 AC, 60 feet movement, extra attack. I put haste on him, and he's a warforged with shield of faith. Okay, and it's like, guys,
Sam, did you see that meme by the way that Matt's referring
No.
to? Oh,
No, I
it
did
had
not.
it had a picture of Mr. Hassan from Fate.
Understandable.
Let me go
I didn't
find
know
it.
that was a Fate reference.
It is indeed
Yeah.
a Fate reference,
My boy.
which
King
is it's
Hassan.
extra funny too because that character Matt, Hassan the King or whatever, that bone looking
Hassan.
dude, is the enemy that my players fought in the session where they killed Sam's old patron.
Oh,
That's
fine.
him. That's Bone Daddy.
Nice.
I love Bone Daddy.
But it's so, I guess my only thing was because again, I'm coming at this mostly from fucking D&D.
I know.
I like the idea of the role play like reward being more like in character or like story driven. But I don't know, Josh, because I know you said a while ago it's like you do the XP thing when it comes to if players role play their, you know, ideals, bonds, flaws, whatever, they get a little bit of XP. But like hypothetically, let's say there was like something like that in D&D that you would do, but you weren't using XP. Like what other thing would you reward players besides XP and besides like a story thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, so since Sam is specifically referring to, I think
Yeah,
this
so
is
he's specifically going mechanics, where I took
Well,
it like
yeah.
the other
so
way. So that's
I think this is a really funny.
The reason why I didn't do like specifically like experience as a reward is because some games do experience much differently.
Mhm.
Well, so the thing I think is really funny here, though, is the fact that when Sam gave us the prompt in the chat, right? I immediately knew Sam meant mechanical rewards.
Mhm.
Like I instantly knew that that's where he was going with this. But the fact that you, Matt, didn't come at it from that angle, I think is kind of telling of an interesting dichotomy in the way that me and Sam think about games and the way that you think about games,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. But yeah, so yeah, the idea of rewards, fictional in-game like story rewards via role-playing stuff. Yeah, like that's a different, to me, at least for my money, and I think this is kind of where Sam's at too. That's like an entirely different topic. That's like its own subject.
Mhm.
It's
Kind of,
like
yeah.
separate, you know?
Yeah.
I
I will just mention this. So when the D&D playtest came out,
Mhm.
the new inspiration system, my players and I really liked it. We playtested it and kind of changed it when they updated it, and now we use it in our game.
Yeah, we've been
Because my
using it in
player-
ours too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone like for 5e, everyone likes inspiration, but they don't really had a good way of fucking using it other than DMs like,
Yeah,
You
it was,
know,
it was
I-
DM fiat.
yeah, my players would.
DM side mechanic.
Yeah. My players would joke, be like, all right, every time we make Matt laugh, he'll give out inspiration. I'm like, fuck.
Right.
I'm like, damn it, no. This is my one weakness.
So what I'll say here, although I will say, actually, it's funny, we changed the inspiration rules in my game too, but I do feel like we often forget about it and have to try and remind each other, like, oh, hey, you get inspiration for that.
We even changed the name. We call it like
inspiration.
Yeah. Well, we also
called it determination, and we did the only one at a time rule.
We also have to remind each other that if you have inspiration and you get it, you can give it to someone, because we keep forgetting.
That's the other thing.
We also forget that rule.
I try to remind people of that all the time.
I forget too, and I'm fucking DMing, so whatever.
That happens constantly.
You don't have to keep it.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the cleric classing is it blessed? They're like, don't forget to add your D4. And it's just like every 5 minutes, it's like, shut the fuck up.
Literally every time we're in combat. All right, so remember to put the bane, the slow, the blah blah.
Yeah. But anyway,
also a typical combat encounter.
So,
hey, Josh, we're gonna debuff the shit out of them.
Yeah. To answer your question, Matt. I mean, obviously XP is the most obvious reward. But inspiration is another example of how you can go about it, sort of a bonus to a roll. I also think it's valid to reward magic items or relatively good gear. Or both combat and roleplay. I do think you can reward, like, if you're playing a fantasy game, you go into the dungeon, you beat the boss, you're rewarded with a flame tongue sword. That's pretty normal. But then if you take it into a different direction, if you're playing like Cyberpunk and you're talking to your fixer and your executive player manages to convince their fixer, like, hey, could you give us a little something to help us out on the job? The fixer says, okay, I'll see what I can do, and then they reward them. I got this
laser mantis blade.
They reward them with like a flamethrower or some shit for the mission, right? So like you could go in that direction too. That's another easy way to do it. I also think, in terms of mechanical rewards, stuff like temporary bonuses is a really good one. Apocalypse World games almost always have some sort of mechanic that involves a +1, what's called a +1 forward, which is just you get a +1 to your next roll. And then there's +1 ongoing, which is you get a +1 for all your rolls until a certain period of time passes or whatever. You can also give another good mechanical reward. Although this is kind of a funny example, because this one sort of is in between a mechanical reward and a story reward, but like giving your players a renown score or reputation score thing to then be cashed in for certain items. And a good example is in the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. Because the players, at least in my case, were part of the rebellion, you have a duty score, and if you do whatever each of the players had a job in the rebellion, and if they did their job in the rebellion, that would give them points towards their duty score, which they could then cash in for like assistance or for like a vehicle or for some like gear and shit like that. So that's another good way to do it.
Yeah,
I'm
doing the same thing in Strixhaven with the relationship. Player spends time, hangs out with NPC, they get relationship points, and then they get some kind of flavorful thing from that, whether it be like, this NPC owes you help, or they'll help you get some money or whatever.
Yeah, I think a renowned and or reputation system is super helpful for a lot of reasons. Particularly because it's a really good, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Tangible?
Yes. Yeah. It's a very tangible score to keep track of. And by being tangible and concrete, that helps you as a GM be able to represent that in the game. So, for example, if you had, if you have certain thresholds, it's like when the players get past Renown 5, the guild they work for starts to notice them, or something like that. Once they get past Renown 15, their guild is willing to give them like higher paying job, really good, tangible, mechanical, like I can look at this number and I have a way to represent it fictionally. That's always a good thing. And
I wish the 5e ones were better.
5e, 5e totally should have a thing like that. A lot of players utilize that in their 5e games in various forms. And it is kind of funny that there isn't. Do you know
So
about
it's a-
Sam? Do you know in the DMG there are renown rules, but
Yes,
they're
I
only-
did. I was just about to bring them up. Not
Yeah.
only are they not great, but they're also completely optional.
they're completely optional, and they're
completely
only
optional.
for the like Forgotten Realms specific guilds.
Guilds. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
I mean, you
I
can
like that.
tweak them to
Yeah.
not be,
Yeah,
but
but-
like
Yeah, you can
you
tweak
know,
them.
so
I
there's,
like that
there's
they-
honor. There's like the
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of the honor rules.
Are-
Emerald Enclave.
there's a bunch
No.
of them that are just there, and they're like for role playing for in D&D, but they're completely optional. People just forget they exist.
So that's a different. Yeah. So that's two different things because there's the
Mhm.
there's the honor score and the piety score thing.
Yep.
And then there's also
There's a sanity one or
There's
whatever.
also the sanity one, and then there's the renown scores for the specific
Mhm.
Forgotten Realms guilds,
Yep.
and those are two separate systems, and
Yep.
Yeah.
all of them are optional. And
All of them
also,
are optional.
none of them are presented in the player's handbook in any way.
Nope.
So the
So-
players have no way of even knowing that that's like
Unless they've read
A thing.
read the DMG.
yeah,
Yeah.
which a lot of players specifically by choice avoid the DMG on
Mm-hmm.
purpose because they assume they're supposed to, which I mean, fair. I can understand why you would think that.
Except for the magic
Even
items.
Even
A lot of
even
players
though,
won't even look at those.
Really?
even
No,
though the book
Yeah.
is that you're not supposed to really look at is the monster manual.
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
the DMG.
yes, the monster
Yeah.
manual is the one that you're supposed to like mostly
Yeah,
avoid.
Josh.
That don't
But
No.
um,
don't.
but no. So I wish that they used, because in Waterdeep Dragon Heist they changed how the renown system kind of works and
Yeah,
all the different guilds, and they make them tangible. They make them actually like cool, and they give you missions that are tied to each one of the factions, and it all revolves around the Waterdeep Dragon Heist adventure. But you can just take those and use them in your own game.
What?
And I know a lot of people don't use the Acquisitions Incorporated book, but that book also has a shit ton of good examples of like, here's how to run a faction. I know they make it more into like the Office, like kind of haha funny guild thing.
I don't think a lot of people know what that book's about.
I know. It's basically, it was the Acquisitions Incorporated answer to the Strongholds and Followers book by MCDM.
No, I know, but the funny thing is like I think the reason a lot of people don't.
And it has an adventure in it.
Oh yeah, I think the reason a lot of people don't look at it is because they don't actually know what it's supposed to be for. Because
Mhm.
I had no fucking clue what the point of that supplement was. I didn't know if it was a setting or an adventure or like I didn't realize it was like it's like a system,
Yeah.
like a system book.
It's a whole new system book where it's like, do you want to make an adventuring guild, or
Yeah.
for your own players, your party? Do they want to build up their own kingdom? Do they want to get followers and NPCs? Basically the Strongholds and Followers shit, but the
But
5e
with, like, a
version, where
corporate
it's
business.
more like Yeah.
Flavoring.
it's more of the the Office kind of style humor, where it's like, I'm a barbarian in a business suit, and you're like, wait a minute.
The funny thing is about that too is I probably would have liked that book a lot if I actually knew what it was.
Yeah.
Right? Because
I mean,
that's like
I
right
get
up
it.
my
That's about
alley.
most books.
Because remember, like, I grew up
Well,
like, again, I
supplements.
loved the Acquisitions Incorporated. It's how I got into 5e, so I kind of was like super gun ho about it. And then it's like the adventure in it is okay. It's
Have you ever
mostly
used
like
it? Have you ever used it?
I used chunks of it in the 3-year game. Yeah, like I ran one of the like I did the thing where I took one of the parts of the adventure, threw it into my home game, and ran that, and it was great. It was a big fucking dwarven vault like heist, and the players had to sneak in, and it was crazy. It has such a nice map, and they even used it in the show too. So it wasn't just like a here's some shit from the adventure. It's like, here's something that I've seen being run, and then they threw in the adventure and they changed it up a bit, and then I was able to take that and run it myself. And because I kind of like watched it before and saw how the original group played it, I could add in some of that stuff, or I can like throw some like own little like hee hee ha ha jokes.
Oh, uh-huh.
But yeah, but no, I mean, it's, and the other thing too with the Acquisitions Incorporated book, it's a lot of shit. It has new spells, has an adventure, has a bunch of monsters, has a bunch of kind of like what they did in Tome of Foes, where they gave you these like abilities that you can throw on monsters that doesn't really it just gives them cool new abilities. It doesn't really affect CR, so DMs don't have to fucking worry about changing shit.
I don't believe that, but okay.
Yeah. But and they're all
There's
you
no
know,
way to
they're
give
all
a monster an ability and not affect the CR, but sure.
I know, but that's how they intended.
Pack tactics.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
monster pack,
Pack
tactics.
tactics.
Just back
All of a
Every
sudden-
single monster pack tactics.
All of a sudden, much higher CR.
much higher CR if you give anything pack tactics.
Give all your
Oh,
bosses
fuck.
back tactics.
Dude, bro, you gave the Lich pack tactics. What are you doing?
There's only the Lich is the only thing here. Why does he have pack tactics?
It's just fucking
I don't know.
Vecna is just like, guess what? I'm not a Lich anymore. I'm a rogue.
Stab, 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 stab.
Heck no, I'm with cunning
What
action.
if Vecna just had a Knif?
Reward your players for good roleplay with
Yeah,
pack
I wasn't thinking
tactics.
mechanically on the long story
Against them.
short, guys.
Yes.
No, I know.
It's all right.
It's okay, Matt.
Well, now that you've learned that that's the direction we're going, just reorganize every thought you had.
All right,
Yep.
all right.
Kind of why I asked Josh first.
Just take a quick
Yeah.
5, Matt.
Mm-mm.
Just play some hold music.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just play the Jeopardy theme.
I will say I do have an example I do like. That's not 5e for the mechanical
What?
the next question.
Man, I can't imagine you talking about anything but 5e.
Right? I've played other games, not
Wild.
a lot, but I have.
Wild. Like I know, but it's wild.
I mean, I could say it if you want.
No.
Let's-
It's fine. I'll just move on to the next question.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Okay.
Let's say I'm prompt.
So the question has been sort of brought up.
Uh-huh.
So some games have these rewards built in, like desperate rolls in Blades of the Dark. Technically, D&D has now a reward for rolling really well, whether it's in combat or role playing. There's role playing experience and items that you can give people or tangible scores to reward your players the ability to get more things or get something out of an organization or whatever, as in other games. So do you prefer when the game has the reward system built in mechanically and obviously allow you to tweak it, or would you rather the game encourage it like D&D does in some instances, like the original inspiration rules? I don't know why I forgot the word inspiration.
What do you mean by encourage?
So how D&D has the inspiration system, like not the playtest material,
Right, the original 5.
the original 5e inspiration system, where it kind of encourages players to do something specific,
but it's
rather
not
than-
mechanically.
but
Specific.
it's not mechanically specific. It's not, hey, you did something for this organization.
Do X thing for
Good
Y
job.
reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I greatly dislike the old inspiration, or I guess it's still the current inspiration.
Because it's
But-
not playtest.
Yeah. So the current
They tested it out, I
5e
should say.
implementation of inspiration is a type of mechanic that I refer to in my brain as the DM goes like, "Here's a cookie."
Yep.
And
I believe I said that earlier too.
yeah, or like here's some breadcrumbs to continue down the trail. That's what that mechanic those mechanics are to me.
Mhm.
And I hate that shit.
Mhm.
Anything that involves GM handing a cookie for your like good behavior or whatever, it cannot stand.
Mhm.
Which is
Well, there is a variant rule that allows players to hand out the inspiration.
I don't like that either.
That means the players have to remember.
That means the players have to
Someone
remember.
has to remember shit.
But also it just means that you're just
Everybody's gonna
changing
hand
it
out-
from the DM
Mhm.
hands out cookies to the players hand out cookies.
Yeah.
But it's still handing out cookies, and that's the thing I don't like. That's my whole beef. That's my primary beef with Milestone is the DM hands you the cookie when you have jumped through the arbitrary hoops that the DM has decided and set for you.
Mhm.
Right? That's why I don't like Milestone, and I don't like it in other situations either. That's why I hate the old inspiration rules and have literally never once used them. I've always used modified inspiration rules. And I also don't like it for XP because a lot of games have some variation on a rule that is something along the lines of, did the player do good roleplay? Here's XP. And it's basically just the GM deciding what quote unquote good roleplay is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you the XP for that. And I hate that. I want it to be clear and tangible. Like, I don't, particularly when you're talking about like reward systems, XP especially, but I think this applies to pretty much all of them. The players should be able to control and maybe I shouldn't say control, but the players should be able to decide and make decisions about how they get the reward and when they get the reward. Like, it should be in the players' hands because it's for the players.
I think the word that you were looking for is influence.
Influence, I guess, would be the sort of lighter word. Because, now obviously there's places where it becomes a little like difficult, and obviously at the end of the day you're GMing the game, so you are essentially deciding everything once you really get down to the brass tacks. But the way that you should do it, okay,
clear defined goals.
The way I think you should do it, let's go with that, is you should do it in the way that a video game gives you a quest. Right? So if I'm playing The Witcher and I pick up a contract to go kill a cockatrice, the game does not say to me, you must kill a cockatrice with Witcher signs. The game says to me, go kill the cockatrice. And I go, cool, I will kill it whichever fucking way I please. You told me the goal, but the methodology is on me. How I get about there is up to me. What way I do it, what method, what weapons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, video games differ a little because they're more tightly controlled than role-playing games by their very nature. But
yes, absolutely.
Obviously, right? But you should think about it in that way. A big thing a lot of people complain about when they're playing video games is anytime a game forces you to use a specific thing to complete a specific task, you will always hear players complain, and the sentence that will inevitably come out of their mouth is, I want to play the game I want to play the game the way I want. Right? So if, like, for example, you're playing a shooter and the game is like, you have to beat the mission with this gun, and then the gun is a gun that you hate, then you get annoyed and you're like, why aren't you just letting me use the gun that I like?
I think a good example is also the original version of DMC Devil May Cry with the two enemy types, where if you try to hit them with anything but their particular colored weapon, you bounce off of them and you basically do no damage. So they did kind of fix that in their updated version, where you don't bounce off, but you do significantly less damage. Though the problem with DMC is that, those games are usually about flow, and the second that you have to use
specific thing, it breaks the flow.
Or two weapons, you break your own flow. Especially if you hate those weapons. Anyway,
which is the whole thing, right? Is I don't want to have to use the thing I don't like. So I basically, when you're dealing with player rewards, I think it should be much the same objective, right? So a great example, going back to Blades in the Dark, if we go back to the cutter and the things that the cutter gets reward for, you address a challenge with violence or coercion. It doesn't say you shoot a man. It doesn't say you aggressively stab someone. It doesn't say you address a problem with a knife, right? It says violence and coercion. It says this is the goal. Violence means whatever you want.
It is both specific and vague.
Yeah, it's
vague
open
in
enough.
The method.
Yeah, in method, but specific in goal.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically how I want any kind of player reward stuff. Any kind of mechanical rewards, which is why I really liked the inspiration rules on the one D&D playtest, because it's very clear. It says, player, you get inspiration when you roll a 20 or a 1 if you're, whichever version you're using. When you roll a 20, you get inspiration. So the reason that I like that, just to sort of extrapolate the thought further, is for me, if I'm a player and I know, okay, I get an inspiration point when I roll a 20. I know I'm going to get a 20 roughly 5% of the time, right? I know if we have a session where we're going to be doing a bunch of combats, I'm much more likely to get more inspiration points. So if we're having a session where we're going through a dungeon crawl, I'm going to burn my inspiration more freely because I know I'm going to get more 20s, or I'm more likely to get more 20s. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but I'm more likely to get more 20s because that is all concrete. The GM cannot influence that in any way, as opposed to the current inspiration rules of 5e, which is what ends up happening. And this is true. I've watched this happen in multiple games, multiple actual plays. Players don't spend their inspiration because they don't know when they're going to get it, because it's up to the GM to hand you the cookie when they feel like it, or they remember, for that matter, right? I mean, that's the other problem too, is the GM has to remember to give you the cookie, or the fact that they even have the cookies, or that they even baked them this morning. What if they didn't bring them to the session? I don't know why I'm on this cookie thing.
How fucking dare they not bring cookies to goddamn sessions?
Like,
you
if you
expect me to go through 4+ hours of D&D with no cookies?
Yeah. Imagine, right?
Or whatever
a player
tabletop game you play.
Remember, like a player has a really cool moment or whatever in the game, right? And then then you finish session or whatever, and then the GM sits down and goes, "Oh, sorry, Fred. I probably should have given you inspiration for the scene where you killed the Lich. That was pretty dope. I completely forgot. I guess you can have inspiration network next week." At which point Fred goes, "I could have used that inspiration before," and he's like, "Yeah, I know, I forgot." Like, you know what I mean?
Or Fred already has inspiration, so he just sits there
because he was hoarding it.
All right,
yeah.
Who wants my inspiration? Because now he's got to give it away. Yeah,
it's. I want to be able to know if it's a tangible thing that I'm getting as a player. I need to know that it is a tangible and obvious way for it to be acquired. That's pretty much.
Yeah,
that's pretty much the give or take of it. Which is why I say there are ways you can do good milestone rewards, because there are ways to make your milestones very clear and tangible.
Yeah. They make it very clear that the quest is going to reward you with something very, very good for you, smiley face.
I mean, shit. You could have a milestone system where every X number of sessions you level up. Like every 2 sessions guaranteed.
Even that,
level. Yeah. Not that I would recommend that necessarily, but you could.
Maybe every 3 sessions.
I mean, I'm just like, I probably wouldn't. I don't like doing things on like every X amount of sessions, but I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to do that, that is a milestone system you could do. And that would annoy me less, because at least I know for a fact, all right, session 3, I get the level up, regardless of what I do or how I fuck up. The other thing too, with the like, here's XP for your good roleplay, or here's any kind of reward for your quote unquote good roleplay, is it punishes quieter players.
Yeah.
Unintentionally usually, but it does.
Yeah, it is a shame when a mechanic is very biased towards players that
people
are
like
either
me.
more active or biased towards players that the DM clearly like favors in some way, or like even if it's just their character
it's
specifically,
the DM's girlfriend.
like, or just the DM is more interested in that
their
character story.
Yeah.
Like it can just end up being that way.
Yep.
Which is, unfortunate, and sometimes it can leave other players feeling,
Yeah, that's
always a problem, though. Fortunately,
Wait,
not exactly
actually,
something you can just resolve.
So when it comes to like milestone, Josh, how did you feel in like Descent to Avernus, where you didn't really know?
Hated it.
You hate it?
I hated it. I put up with it because it was what we all agreed to do, and I wasn't gonna like harangue Sam about it because I wanted to play the adventure. But I hated not knowing when the milestone was gonna hit. And I distinctly remember, I think we've talked about this before, but I also distinctly remember several points in the adventure where I thought we were gonna get a milestone and then we didn't. Like, I remember there were several parts where I was like, oh, this is definitely level up worthy. And then Sam was like, no, you don't get a level up. I was like, okay. And that's annoying because it's like, oh, my interpretation of level up worthy is different from the person who wrote the adventure.
Yeah.
Like I think when we completed the like Bramble Patch dungeon.
So you want to know the reason why you didn't get
we didn't there, right?
That?
Yeah.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because you had already received that level up. Because that was extra content.
Oh, okay.
That
See, but you don't know that. Right?
So okay, well, what I mean is that like okay, so there's
I see what you're saying.
so in Avernus there are the two paths
Right,
quote unquote you
right.
can take. If you've already done part of a path and you've gotten up to that level and you're doing milestone, you're not going to get the level up for doing
right.
you're not going to go to the level 5 zone after getting to level 8 and then get a level up for doing level 5 zone.
See, because I thought
it makes more sense if the adventure is very straightforward.
Right.
The
which
problem
it
is
isn't.
it isn't because it has the two paths, quote unquote.
And
also,
also,
I didn't think the Bramble Patch was, because that was like, it was a fetch quest going to another fetch quest going to another fetch quest. Like, it was back to back. Like, you had to do the thing and then backtrack. So I thought when we did all the backtracking and then we went back to the Zappy Tower with the unicorn and the genie, then we would level up, which I don't remember if we did or didn't.
I don't remember.
Remember, it was the
unicorn.
You got
giant
the
tower
level up
with the
after
unicorn.
finishing
Yeah.
the stuff.
Yeah.
But
here's my thing. Yes, Matt, I see what you're saying. I thought the Bramble Patch was going to be a level up because it was a dungeon and we hadn't done any dungeon stuff very much up until that point. Like we hadn't done one in a while. So I was like, oh, the next big dungeon is the Bramble Patch and you get a level up for doing the next big dungeon. Like that was my logic. But this is the problem. The fact that we had two different mindsets about it is showcasing what the issue I have with that style of milestone XP. Like you are literally showing what my issue is. You know what I mean? Or not you are. By the fact that we both had a different idea is showing it. Sorry, that sounded like I was accusing you. That wasn't what I meant.
Okay, it's fine. Just just get over it. It's fine. Just don't
just
question
get over it.
All right, listen.
Yeah, just
I'm listening.
Yeah. So and like I said, I'm not gonna. It is not the sort of thing that I'm going to like say fuck it. I'm not gonna play over. But if I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of either I'm a designer making a game or I'm someone looking at a game considering if I want to buy it, if I look and your only or your primary method or like a method of like XP reward is milestone, when you get to a quote unquote big story arc, I'm gonna be less inclined to pay money.
Yeah.
And I understand the arguments for it, by the way. I just I guess the cons outweigh the pros for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because I mean, to be honest, like, because I'm the opposite, but most of my players, they want to know, and that's why when I did the Strixhaven thing, I just told them when they would like, I'm like, all right, so here's like the XP, here's the level up roadmap. You guys do the first year, you get to level 4. You do the second year of school, you get to level 6. Third year of school, you get to level 8. Basically, like, they level up twice every school year.
Yeah, which
and they were like, oh, okay. They're like, all right, so that's, and then they're happy because they know. They're like, all right, so I'll hit level 6, and then my build will be, unlocked at the second year of school. I'm like, all right,
sure, and that helps, but there's still the problem of being like, oh, I think we should get a level up for X, Y, and Z thing, but the game doesn't. Like, there's, it helps to know, but also the other problem too is you're not supposed to tell your players, right? The way they assume you're going to play the game is more organically, where the players just level up when it happens. You're not supposed to like pre-inform them.
No, which is, again, that's why I'm like, I kind of like that. I like the the story driven or the organic leveling where you don't know. But again, there are a lot of people like, my
but you
players,
don't know, but
they don't like that. They are like, I want to know when the fuck I'm leveling.
Yeah, I want to know when I'm leveling so I can plan ahead. I want to like.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, and then again, that's why I think it's fun. Like you were saying, it's funny. There's like two different like thought processes with this. Because like I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't want to fucking know. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, if I do something cool, I level up. That's fine. If I do something cool, I don't.
Do you not like to look at your XP bar when you play RPGs, like in video games?
No. Because I treat them differently. I treat video games and tabletop games differently. This is the other thing that like whenever you talk about this stuff, I really for some reason don't like treating D&D tabletop games like the video game. Like when I think about like reading count like Cyberpunk and then playing Cyberpunk 2077, I get two different like thought processes with that. Same thing happens with D&D.
I'm
and
not
like
saying
other,
they
like,
should
RPGs.
be treated the same. I'm aware they're different mediums. I'm not saying treat them the same. I'm just saying you can use lessons from one and apply them to the other. Like you can learn from them and apply them in both directions.
But I don't think it goes with like leveling. Like I disagree with that.
You know, the CRPG community would disagree with you.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
Considering they are just tabletop games translated over into a virtual space.
Okay, hold on. Wait. I need to ask this. I need to understand how Matt plays video games now. So Matt, you're telling me if you're playing an RPG, a video game RPG, right? If you're playing Cyberpunk or you're playing Baldur's Gate or et cetera, you don't look at your XP bar and say, okay, how close am I to a level up? Should I do this next side quest or should I continue to make? Like, do you not do that? Do you not look at where you're about to level and what you're going to get next for your next level and all that? It
depends on the game. It depends if I'm doing the story mode. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what level I am.
Well,
if I'm like doing side quests because I need money.
Well, let's assume it's an open world situation like Cyberpunk, so you can decide when you're doing the main story.
Not really, because mostly with Cyberpunk, it's all about trying to get that fucking money. I'm trying to get the money so I can buy the stupid fucking gun I need.
Sam, does that blow your mind as much as it blows mine?
I listen
a little bit.
It sounds like you guys aren't having as much fun playing video games as I am.
That's the fun. That's what I'm saying. Part of the fun is looking at that XP bar and knowing, okay, I'm about to level up. What do I want to get next? That's part of the fun.
I'm gonna be honest. When I play, depending on the game, of course, like when I play Fire Emblem, a lot of the time my entire goal is just to level people up. Like that's kind of the point, quote unquote. But like,
yeah, like Pokemon, like that I understand with Pokemon, because like you want to get the stronger mon, so you want to level up your Pokemon so they evolve and all that shit. That I get. I don't know why with an RPG for some reason I don't. I just don't care.
Hey Matt.
Yeah, I know Pokemon's like, yeah, I know.
Pokemon is an RPG.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like, I like some like.
You mean a game with RPG elements like leveling and stat distribution? Because
because I don't care about like. I hate grinding. I hate grinding for leveling up. It's fucking annoying.
I'm not necessarily talking about grinding. That's a little different. I'm just saying, just general XP curve.
You know, getting money in Cyberpunk is grinding.
I mean. It is, yes.
Rise and grind.
I mean, but I'm doing multiple things. Like it's like, yeah, sure, I'm fighting people, so I'm getting XP on the side, but I'm also getting money. I'm getting like all the little gadgets and shit, so I can fucking craft shit.
And you don't want to apply any of that to a tabletop game?
Not really, no. Like not like XP bars or.
See, but
Matt, you do know that. I mean, like, if you're using Milestone, you don't technically have an XP bar. But like, Matt, if you use an XP system, it is just an XP bar. It's just numerical instead of bar representation.
I guess.
I mean, that's not an I guess. That's literally how it works.
I don't see it that way, but all right.
Hey, Matt, let's see.
Okay. This is very strange to me. I don't.
Okay. I understand that you don't see it that way. I'm not trying to be that guy,
but it sounds like you guys aren't, having fun in your role-playing games. You just need to shut the brain off a little bit, maybe.
I do absolutely despise a lot of open-world games because they feel exactly the same to me.
This is true.
I think the ones that I've had the most fun in are completely different from their peers, I guess I should say.
So, I'm not...
Mostly because I think RPG elements are actually a little overdone in video games.
They absolutely are.
They just kind of added like the Diablo style loot system in video games. I think
it's gotten a little out of hand.
It's like you have blue tier, purple tier, gold tier, all that shit.
I think we need to go back to the original Legend of Zelda system, where if you got a weapon upgrade, you got it. Good job.
So okay, I want to ask Matt something, because I feel like I've unlocked a new understanding about him that. I need to know more, and I'm not. This is not me judging. I'm curious at this point.
Okay.
So let's assume you're not DMing. You're a player.
Okay.
You're playing a new game. Any new tabletop game, doesn't matter.
Sure.
If you're reading through, and what you're saying is, if the advancement, because some tabletop games don't even use levels, which is like kind of a separate thing. But
Yeah.
so advancement, we'll say.
Star Wars uses fucking
Doesn't-
talent tree
Yeah, it
system.
doesn't use levels, for example. So if the
Oh.
advancement of the game, you go to that section and it says you advance when the GM decides you have hit like a big story beat, or the GM decides you have done something notable enough to earn an advancement. You see that, and that is the ideal scenario for you. That's
Josh,
what
have
you
you-
want in the game.
Have you ever watched an episode of Critical Role, bud?
Oh, what?
There you go. Like they do that shit all the time.
Well, I mean, no, they don't. In campaign 1, Matt Mercer kept track of
No,
XP.
I'm not saying campaign 1. I'm saying they do that. They did that campaign 2. They do it in campaign 3.
Okay, sure.
It's a new norm. It's a thing
I'm not
Matt
asking about
has
Critical
said
Role.
multiple times. He's been like, God, I wish I did this in campaign 1.
I'm not asking about Critical Role. I'm
I'm
asking
no,
about
but
you.
I'm saying as an example, that's a thing that most people want.
I'm not asking
in
about other
D&D, I
people.
think.
I just want to know for you. I'm only
Yes,
asking
me.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, so you want the GM to hand you out your level up whenever they decide.
Yeah, if it's the right moment, whether it's a story moment, whether it's a big fight, like it's weird because I don't think like again we're two different thought processes in this. I don't think about stuff. It's like, God, I hope I level up now. It's like I hate saying this because I know like a couple of my players do this too, but like I don't like the idea of like looking ahead and building my character and all that stuff and working backwards. I want the game to go on and whatever happens to my character happens. Kind of like fucking what happened with Vax in campaign 1, where he wasn't fucking planning on going paladin. He had
Well, that's
no thought to do that, and then because of story shit, it happened.
sure, and I'm not against that. I'm just. It sounds like I mean, I can't. There is no common ground. I cannot reconcile with this, but it sounds like you're sort of taking the game out of tabletop games. Like you don't think of them in game terms as much.
Not as a role player versus a gamer.
Yeah, like you're not thinking about them as games so much as you're thinking about them as like role playing a story experience. Like you don't. I don't want to say don't.
yeah,
I don't want to say you don't care, but you're less invested in the mechanics. Like a game can have shitty mechanics and you can like put up with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See, this is all right.
But like, I enjoy like I enjoy combat.
We've learned no. This is yeah, sure. I mean, specifics of like individual things, but we've learned. I feel like I've had a revelation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me and Matt we sit on opposite sides of the table. There's no middle ground.
I'm Josh.
I-
Join the
we're
dark
on
side.
completely
There are cookies
opposite
here. I
sides
stole
of the
them from Sam.
I get it. now.
I'm glad that you finally had this realization.
I get no, like I see
Like-
like I mean I knew it, but now I get what now we've put it into words.
Mhm.
Matt cares about the R and the P. I care more about the G.
Mhm.
I see.
Don't
Okay.
forget about the
Man, I
1T.
can't-
That's the most
I
important.
can't believe Matt cares about the P more than Josh
The
does.
biggest P.
Yeah, the big P.
The big P.
Okay. Okay. That was a little bit
yeah.
of a derailment, but an interesting discovery nonetheless.
I mean, it definitely it was kind of in line with the question due to the fact that it had to do with the mechanics.
Yeah. Okay.
Matt's answer is basically,
Well, I don't
I
know
just
if
don't care.
Well, I don't know if my example is going to count then.
Not,
but,
I don't.
like,
Matt's answer isn't I don't care, but he's not as like
He's
invested
nowhere near
about
as
the
invested.
mechanical design the way I am.
No, not really. Yeah.
Now, okay, Sam, where do you fall on that?
I'm kind of in between, honestly. Like I don't hate role play experience. I don't hate milestone experience. But I do like having some mechanical knowledge of it like happening. Like using the video game example again, I do like to know when something is going to occur. Although so there's a game that I played recently, Ghostwire Tokyo. On its hardest difficulty, you don't gain levels. You just don't.
Okay.
So you have to go and do specific objectives to gain levels and gain points to put into your skills.
So
I
you don't get like XP, you just get skill points
on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
So you will just get skill points by doing specific things.
Okay.
Versus getting skill points because you're leveling and you're doing the specific things. So like a lower difficulties do both.
Okay.
I'll be honest, having to do a specific thing to get a level, or in this case a skill point, in a video game, unless it is specifically story driven, is really annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like achievements. Which I
don't even hate it.
I don't like achievements either.
I know you don't. I like developers being like, hey, here's this silly little challenge. It literally means nothing. We just thought of it. Go do it.
Yeah.
Like, usually that's how I treat achievements. It's just the developer going, hey, we thought of this silly little thing. You could go do it if you want to.
Which is why they don't bother me like that much, because they are just that, basically.
Yep. But like when the mechanic is, like it's weird that I say that milestone doesn't bother me that much when this particular instance does. Having to go out and do something for specific skill, like to get skills. At least in this game, it's like you kind of want to have as many skill points as possible because, it's your health, it's your abilities, it's how well you're doing in combat, etc. It's just really, really annoying when everything that's tied to this, you can't even upgrade because the game says, LOL, no. But like in tabletop, where it's like, I don't know when this is going to happen. I know we have to do something specific that the DM has in mind. And he may bait it with a big fucking hook, because they usually do with milestone, unless it's like a pre-written adventure. It's kind of whatever to me, because I'm just there to play the game, at least in tabletop RPGs. But when it comes to a video game, I fucking hate that, because it's like, bro, I'm alone and I might know the objective and it might just be really annoying or some stupid thing, so I'd rather just have a traditional experience system with that. That
goes back to the having the open-ended on the methodology part.
I actually do have an example. I don't know if this counts, but it is more of a mechanical thing from Call of Cthulhu. Where like every time you use a skill in a session, at the end of the session you roll, and I don't remember if it's like I think you roll a d6, and if you get a 6, that skill increases by like a +1 or whatever. So as the more you use skills in the game, you get better at them over time, or you can get better at them over time.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's kind of cool.
Burning Wheel has a similar, little more intricate, but similar idea. Basically, you have to use skills to get better at them.
Yeah, and having that kind of, you have to do a specific thing to do, like it again in a tabletop is a lot different than, hey, I need you to go collect 50 cats
50
from the cat
axes.
island so that I can give you this one skill point. Thanks.
It's like that one Viva La Dirt fucking video where it says like, I need you to pick 45 berries in the volcanic ash.
Yes.
And he's like throwing a random like dart on a map. He's like rolling, like
He's
picking
rolling
like
dice.
words out of a hat. Just like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I recently watched that skit.
I love that channel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I have a good grasp.
I thought the
on
internet
how
just
people-
shit the bed for a second from the
No,
quiet. I was like, what happened? What happened?
Waiting, I'm like,
One
Sam?
thought was connecting to the next.
Okay. The neurons were
I-
activating.
Yeah.
was trying to take him back.
Okay. Listen, I feel like we've answered this question, especially from Josh's perspective. So I'm just going to ask Matt. Matt,
What up?
how do you feel about getting rewarded for role play and combat and whatever the hell you do in a game from
Whatever
a
the hell
player's
I do.
perspective?
I think it's good. I think, I think it's real good.
Thank
You're welcome.
That's it,
That was
Chief.
my TED talk. See, no, honestly, I do like.
I can't tell if he's
Cool.
shitposting or not.
No, I am shitposting. Yeah,
literally came out
No, I
with
think
reward cool.
it's again. I might be the weird one because I kind of like a good mix of like being, you do like you can get reward for combat. You know, even if it's something small, it could be gold. It could be like learning a new thing about the monster we just fought. Whatever, you know. Role play, yeah, same thing. Even if it's like a cool interaction, it doesn't have to be like again, I don't care if it's like a tangible thing. Even if it's like the tiniest little like, you know, reward, I'm fine. You know, I'm happy.
Okay.
Okay, another question.
So you like the small serotonin boost
Yeah.
the little serotonin.
anytime you do something.
Yeah. Another
anytime,
question has now formed in my brain though. And
What's that?
this is a specific Matt question.
Puts on professor
Look,
glasses.
Matt, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about you. This is good.
Professor
This is good.
Glasses. We're taking this episode is actually just learning about Matt.
Yeah.
Just learning about me,
Also,
yeah.
side note, I just before I ask, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying I'm like anti role playing or anything. It might come off that
You heard it here first, folks. He's anti role playing. Get him.
because it might come off like I can understand
The
if
D&D police. Get him.
someone could be listening, right? And it might come off that I'm like, I don't give a shit about the role playing part of the role playing game. No, if that were the case, I would just play board games. I do give a shit about the story and the role playing part. That's not me. Like, I'm not like against that.
Yeah.
Just specifically when we're talking about, I just really like mechanic. Really what it comes down to is I just really like game design. And I get excited and interested when I see the cool mechanical game design in the game. Is really what a lot of that is.
Yeah.
But so okay, Matt. So in our hypothetical. I mean, I guess it's not even hypothetical. In our 5e game, where the GM has decided to, you know, actually no. Let me rephrase this. All right.
Okay.
Wind it back. Let's say so you're playing and the GM has decided. You will be rewarded for role playing. The GM will give you XP when you do, you know, quote unquote, like good role play or something cool, etc. Right?
Okay.
And then something happens in the game where you do something that you thought was super dope, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get such fat XP at the end of this session. That was super fucking cool." And then the end of the session comes around, and you say to the GM, "So how much XP do I get for that thing I did?" And the GM says, "Oh no, I'm not giving you XP for that." I don't think that was good role play. What is your response in that scenario? Because that is like, for me at least, that is the ultimate that's the ultimate bad scenario when you're talking about handing out XP for role play and it's up to the GM what the role play is.
Which is why I don't like handing out XP for role playing.
Well, milestones is kind of the same idea.
Well, there's a difference between role playing and leveling. I think leveling it's a little easier. Role playing it's like like you even said worst case scenario. That's based on the dungeon master's preference.
I think he's talking about using experience as a leveling system versus milestone.
No. What I'm saying is because you said before, Matt, that your ideal game, the GM just decides when you level. Basically, that was what you said, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is,
stuff,
something happens in the game and you get excited. You're like, oh, we're definitely going to get XP, or we're definitely going to get a level up for this thing that just happened, or this thing that my character did. And then the GM says, no, I'm not rewarding you for that. Like, how do you reconcile that scenario?
Yeah, no, in that situation, I'd feel bad, but I don't, you like remember the thing you said with the bramble, not the bramble patch, the bone fucking,
The bramble patch.
The bramble patch, yeah.
It was a bramble patch.
Like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't have that, like, unless it's something like crazy big, like you just killed the dragon. I don't think about it. Like, I don't think like, oh, this is definitely an XP like moment. Like, I don't think this is a level up moment.
So you're saying you don't run into that problem because you don't even.
No, it doesn't cross my mind.
You just
unless
don't
it's
even
like,
consider it.
No, not unless it's something like, again, something fucking super major.
So
happens, like you just killed a fucking dragon.
So basically, XP isn't even in your brain until the GM says the words XP. Is that kind of like? I mean, I'm being a little I'm being slightly hyperbolic, but like it's kind of Okay, all right. Interesting. Okay, that's very strange to me.
I just so much do not like XP as a system. It's such a fucking age old fucking thing from back in the olden D&D times.
I think you have your brain maybe a little too tied to like the specific way D&D does XP.
Probably, like
so many games do what you would call XP in such a more elegant and interesting way, and it almost doesn't even really feel like XP, but
Yeah, but Josh, those games aren't as popular, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not.
I'm
listening.
kidding.
Ooh, that's bait. That's bait.
I'm kidding. I don't actually. Yeah, no,
Because
the D&D
statistic-
XP system is
statistics
actually.
back it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, probably. It is mostly probably just because of how I know D&D's XP system to be. I've tried it. Very much didn't like it. Immediately switched the milestone. Was easier.
So
Other systems might do it better,
What
but
if-
I'm just also on. I'm I don't want to be like the I'm set in my ways person, but like
you are a little bit.
milestone is just. I feel like it's just easier. It's just so much easier as a dungeon master. It's one thing.
Milestone is definitely easier as a dungeon master. Yes, that's not that.
As a
That's not
player,
the point.
The
No,
question isn't
again-
the question isn't the ease so much.
It's not the ease. It's what you enjoy, and not necessarily to use, but to be given.
Mhm.
So
and the difference here is that you don't like to think about experience, so
which is still
having milestone,
crazy to me.
which is given to you, it's fine. That's just the way that you enjoy to do it, because it's not something that you have to constantly think about.
It's
You're
it's
not
low
worried about it.
stress.
It's low stress. There we go.
So, but then my question,
I understand where that comes from, Matt. Like I'm not hardcore one way or the other, because I think that they both have their uses, and I think that both are perfectly fine.
Mhm.
And sometimes I don't want to think about experience, because at certain points it does, and this is the question that I asked. I know you looked at it, Matt.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it does affect the way that you play the game.
yeah. All right, hold on. Pause that thought, because I just want to throw a quick hypothetical out here. So, Matt, because you mentioned the Call of Cthulhu thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's that type of mechanic where it's like, oh, the skill gets better when you use it. That's essentially still XP. It's just XP hidden, right? Like you're just adding a level of obfuscation to the XP.
Skill experience.
But it's
Sure,
still
and the
experience.
forest is also a dungeon because everything is a
Right,
dungeon.
exactly. It literally though. Literally, Matt, it's the same idea.
I know,
Yes.
I know it is. I know.
So, but what I want to say is, hold on. I just want to ask. So, let's say, I don't know how the fuck this would work, but let's just assume in a hypothetical universe. Let's say D&D used the Call of Cthulhu skill system as its form of improvement. That's why we should really be using the word improvement. That's really the more universal word. But anyway,
Right.
would you be into that?
I think it'd be cool.
Okay. So you have beef with the traditional style of XP. It seems
Yeah.
like.
It seems like, yeah.
Right, like the very traditional go into the dungeon, kill the monsters, and or in old D&D get the loot to get XP. You have beef with that old system.
Mm.
Okay, interesting. Okay, that I understand a bit more. That I get, because I will say, if I'm looking at a new RPG, and the only way to get XP is like when you fight a monster, you get XP. I'm definitely not super excited about that. But most RPGs actually don't do that. Most RPGs actually have some pretty interesting ways of rewarding it. Or rewarding improvement points, I should say.
Usually, or skill point.
Skill, yeah, improvement. That's why improvement's a good generic word.
Yeah.
All right, so Sam, where were you going? Because I had to.
So the question really was: do
Influencing
you enjoy getting rewarded for like playing your character or playing to the system, or do you think that playing that way is literally only influenced by the system being like, hey, you get rewarded for this? Like, so for instance, let's say that I'm going to use the Sunday game for an example. Sunday game, we have bonds, flaws, whatever, dictated by D&D backgrounds. And we get experience for role playing to those flaws, bonds, whatever. That definitely has an influence on how we play our characters, and it's how we've written our characters, because bonds and flaws, those are character specific traits.
Yes.
But they do influence us to play that specific way. So other games have different systems, and they definitely, make players do certain things. And here's a little thought for that. If you have not used you get experience for role playing system before, but other people in your party have, and that's like the main way that you're getting experience. Sometimes you leave people in the dust because they're not sure as to how to use that system.
Yeah.
So it can deeply affect the way that the game is played.
Yeah, that is why I think it's good to have multiple avenues.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I absolutely agree.
So, all right, I have kind of a long. I've kind of what a surprise. I have a long-winded answer. So, Matt, you want to go ahead? Have a thought? Or do you want to?
No.
Want to let
No,
me?
head empty.
Head empty. Understandable.
Are you shit posting or are you being serious?
No, you go for it, man.
So, yeah. So the idea of, this is my big thing. This is like the crux of when you say this is what my game is about. The way you hand out reward or improvement is what your game is about. Right? So I've made this joke before, but you're playing a game about bank robbers, and the game does not reward you for robbing banks and instead rewards you for hanging out with cops. Your game is not about bank robbing. Right? So, yeah, I think the idea that the XP rewards influence the style of play, I think is not only a good idea, but like kind of a mandatory thing if you want to make your game really work, because most people, when they set out to make a game, they're trying to generally make a game about a specific thing or about a specific tone. So when you're trying to figure out how to reinforce the tone of your game, the way the players are rewarded is what will give that reinforcement. So in old D&D, second edition, the point of the game was to go in dungeons and get loot. How did the game enforce that or reinforce that? You got XP for getting loot. That was how you advanced. Every gold was worth a point of XP or whatever. I don't know if it was exactly that, but that was, the gist is gold gave you XP. So yeah, I think it's a good thing if your XP system is influencing your players in a specific direction that is with the tone of the game. I think that's a good thing. I think that's, the problem of some players getting like left in the dust or whatever. I think there's no perfect way to solve this because at the end of the day, it's a role-playing game. You have to interact a certain amount. So if you have a player who sits down at the table and just never says anything, no amount of game mechanics is going to fix that.
Yep.
You have to interact a certain amount. But you can mitigate that by making sure that it's not only one style of play that gets rewarded. And I wanted to, and it's serendipitous that we brought this up because Cyberpunk Red actually has a pretty interesting idea about this. I waffle back and forth on how I feel about it, like how much I like it or don't like it, because it is a little bit of the GM hands you a cookie, kind of. So the first thing is in Cyberpunk Red, because it's a Cyberpunk game, you complete a mission, you do a run, you get XP, which is very standard, makes sense, right? And the whole party gets that XP. So you complete a run, the whole party gets 30 XP. That makes sense. That's very Cyberpunkian, right? Checks out. But the other thing is you can get what's called play style based improvement. And I think this is interesting. So what the game says is, actually, I'll just read this verbatim. Unlike other tabletop games, Cyberpunk, I don't like that phrase, but Cyberpunk Red uses a system called playstyle improvement. This is a type of improvement that allows the GM to reward each player based on their preferred type of gameplay and their level of participation in that gameplay. The types of gameplay, you have warriors, socializers, explorers, and role players. So if you have a warrior player, that basically means, as you might imagine, combat-oriented player who likes to engage in tests of skill against the adversaries. A socializer player is a social-oriented player that's all about the overall game experience. They like to tell jokes, record stories, contribute ways that are not directly within the game. In and out of the game, they tend to take supportive roles. Explorers, exploration-oriented players that like to find new things in the world. They like to make friends and alliances and new places and things to experience. They also love to solve non-combat related puzzles and mysteries. Sam, this is basically how you're playing Leah, the explorer one.
Yep.
And then role players, which is role-play-oriented players that like to concentrate on playing their character as accurately as possible. They enjoy structuring elaborate backgrounds, often including personal props and pictures and diaries. They enjoy acting out important scenes with speeches or elaborate descriptions. This is an interesting idea because the player gets to say, this is the type of player I am. I would like to be rewarded for the type of player I am, and they predetermine that ahead of time before they start. They pick one of the four, and then you as the GM hand out the XP to them when they sort of act out one of the like prompts within one of those four options. Now, like I said, there's still a little bit of the GM giving you a cookie in there, right? Because the GM gets to decide if you hit your thing or not. I will say a really easy fix for this, and a fix that I personally really like, is just let the players vote. Right? So if you have 4 players, one player is the one who is asking, did I get XP? The other 3 players vote to agree on whether that player got XP or not. That's a really easy way to make it a group thing and to sort of take the GM's hands off of it. I think that's a good option. Or the other option, and some people might think this is crazy, but this is technically how Blades in the Dark works, rules as written. The player decides for themselves whether they got XP or not. And some people don't. Some people hear that and think that's a bonkers idea.
It can work depending on your group, like, because you'll have the honest player who will actually, you'll have the people who the person that doesn't give themselves enough XP because they don't want it to seem like they're cheating, and then you'll have the complete opposite, who guy will just like take 2 steps and be like, "Oh, I got XP, guys! All right,
So-
I did my exploratoring," and just fucking.
So that is exactly why I mentioned earlier, when you have a player who has never used a system like this, you run into the same problem.
Yeah.
Where they're not sure what they should be rewarded for, so they don't ask.
I will say,
A very clear example of this is me and Isaiah have characters that gain experience like crazy because we play our characters a very specific way and almost always get experience every session. Whereas before we reached the point where we're at now, the other 2 players did not do that because they weren't sure as to how to approach the system.
it's logged behind a little bit, although not that much, but a bit.
I mean, at one point it got to nearly 2 levels.
It got close, yeah.
Oh Jesus!
It got close, not
Yeah.
quite, but it got close.
It was very close to 2 levels. I think I was 1,000 experience off of a level.
Yeah.
By the time they hit a level,
So
like the same level.
I will say this about that whole thing. For one thing that's good is Cyberpunk Red, for each of the 4 types of players, they have a little table that has
yes.
essentially prompts that are, various ways you get XP. So like in the
More
warrior
tables.
Huh?
More tables.
Oh yeah, I mean, same. Table's good. Love tables. So like in the warrior box, it says defeat an enemy in battle, gain a powerful tool or weapon, prove your skill in battle, thrill of the hunt. That one's kind of vague. Make the most powerful character, establish a stronghold. So like they do have
The most powerful character.
yeah, that one I don't. That one I'm a little iffy on. But like they do have specific prompts for each of the 4 types to help. So that will help sort of guide the player in the direction. But yeah, when it comes to the idea of self-deciding the XP, you know, I understand. Yeah, like what you said, Matt, totally can happen.
I think
But-
more people will probably be I think you know, maybe 1 out of 10 times you'll get the player that tries to give himself too much XP, but I think most of the time you'll get the honest person.
Yes.
You'll get the person who's like, I only got 50 XP, and then you'll have someone in the group being like, no, dude, you did that really cool thing. You need to get more XP. What are you talking about?
That's actually exactly what I was about to say, Matt. Is every time I've seen this, that's what I see is players get surprisingly honest, but also very what's the word? Like very self-analyzing.
Yeah.
I notice a lot of the time when you say to the player that you get to adjudicate your XP for yourself, they're much more like introspective and analyze their character a lot more than they would normally, and it kind of leads to them like playing their character not better but more like more in depth, like more three-dimensional, which is interesting. So even in my game, technically the system we have in place is one of the players says, I think I should get XP for this, and the other 3 players vote, right? That is the system I'm using in my game. However, what I've noticed is every single time a player says, I think I should get XP for this, everyone agrees every time. And if a player doesn't think they should get XP, they just don't even say anything. Like, I've had multiple sessions where, like, actually, basically every session, at least one person, almost every session, at least one person says, no, I don't think I did anything to justify XP.
Yeah.
And I'm not forcing them. I'm not telling them. And when they make their arguments for their XP, every time I say, you're talking to the players, you're not talking to me. But every single time, everyone always agrees. And if the player didn't do anything to earn XP, they honestly say, no, I didn't do anything to earn it. So it's like, it seems like a system like, yeah, that's totally rife for abuse of the power gamer, but
Depends on your players, really.
it does, but I have seen it be surprisingly effective and honest, which is, I don't know, it's interesting to say the least. Now,
I think having good players will do that to you, though.
well, even when
Yeah.
I've even like watched games where that's still been the case. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Is it gonna work 100%? No, I mean, no. But then again, like, no reward system's gonna work 100%. So you know, there's that too. Yeah, I think Cyberpunk has a pretty interesting idea about handling kind of what you were talking about, Sam, where a certain player doesn't necessarily want to play a specific thing, but they like to play, like they like to do other stuff. I haven't tried the Cyberpunk system, obviously, so, or not obviously, I haven't tried the Cyberpunk system, so I can't say how good or not good it is in play. Cool idea.
Okay.
Rant over.
Matt, you haven't had any real say in this so far.
Which was the question? It was the
Yeah, phrase it again.
I would say it's been a while.
Do you
Been a minute.
enjoy getting rewarded for, the role play mechanic or whatever, or do you think that it's just a little too forceful? It's too pushy.
I
Like,
think if it's
because-
like maybe a little, like, again, if the reward's tiny, I'll be happy. And doesn't have to be anything crazy. Doesn't have to be major. Like, even if it's like, oh, the NPC you're talking to, you guys, the relationship reward point goes up by 1, or he gives you a thumbs up, or he says he owes you a favor or some shit.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I think
little thing.
Matt, I'm just hearing that you're really easy to please.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah,
Yeah,
I am,
right.
dude.
Well, I
you
think
don't really care what's going on. You're just there for the ride.
To-
Just like I get because the idea that does it force players to like stay in character type of deal.
So like it can force players to stay in character. It can force players to think that they have to play a specific way.
Yeah, it forces
I
you to
think-
play a certain way. Do you have beef with that part of it, like being forced a certain direction? Not forced, but like incentivized a certain direction.
I think no, because I don't really I've never been in that situation, or I haven't really seen a situation where like you were saying, like players are rewarded for role playing, and there's one player who's just the quiet person and they don't say shit. I've never been in that situation. I haven't really seen it too often. So just for me, like I don't think, like it sounds like it can be an issue, but I've never really dealt with it. I don't know. I don't think it should be that big of an issue, because even if like you have that quiet person in your game, like the DM and other players, like in the Storm King's Thunder game, one of the players, she specifically, like, she made a ranger. She didn't want to talk. She only really talked to her animal. That was it. So my player would constantly ask her questions and try and like talk to her to get her to like, engage in the game. The DM would do the same thing. And yeah, and then eventually she stopped being the quiet person.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't really like a thing of like, I'm doing this to like be annoying. It's like, no, I feel bad. This player's not really saying much. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they're, shy, or maybe they just don't know what's going on. Maybe I can like help. But I don't know. Yeah, it's weird because like the force to stay in character thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's like I don't think that's a thing that happens that often, at least from my experience.
All right. I mostly asked that question because sometimes when you play a game, and like Matt, I know that the way that you play games is very not like you're not worried about it. You're just playing it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people think that they eventually have to play the game a certain way because the game only rewards them for playing that way.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it, because it's like the people who, I constantly joke, the mid-maxing munchkins. It's the people who it's like, if I don't optimize my character, like if I'm playing a monk and I'm not playing the monk that deals the most damage, I'm not winning D&D. I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
That I get. I don't like it, but I get it.
Exactly. That's kind of the direction I was going with it, because it's like sometimes people do feel forced to play a specific way, or newer players will also feel that way a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because the mechanic wants me to do this, so I'm gonna do it. Like, why wouldn't I? The mechanic wants me to do it.
Actually, have a good example. I gave my players a while ago, like I think I shared it with you guys too. The Dungeon Coast, the bonus level up perks. Like they're like these little things that every time a player can level up, or every once in a while the players they get they're like mini feats, if you want to say, in Pathfinder. And I gave one to the bard that basically allows him, as a full action, he can like spend inspiration and give them to 2 players. So for a while he was using that and only using his inspiration for that mechanic. And he's like, well, it's the most optimal. It's like the best way I can give inspiration to 2 people, but then I don't really get to do much. And then all my inspiration's gone, and I'm playing a sword bard and I need my inspiration for that. And so I was like, like the whole player group was like, man, just, you don't have to do that. Use your inspiration the way you want to. If you feel like in a situation you want to do the thing where you give it to 2 people at the same time, do it. If you want to use your sword bard flourishes, do that. Like no one's forcing you to do that. It's, and so it finally kind of clicked with them, I think. Because it is a really good like mechanic too, which is why he was like just opting into doing that over his own subclass.
Yeah, I kind of ended up doing a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I mostly was doing it by choice, but I did kind of end up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I do think that is a good example, Matt, of players just kind of thinking that they should play a specific way.
Yeah, getting pigeonholed.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think it's kind of like, at least like, especially with like support characters, or classes, especially like Bard, when you're not playing, a very specific type of Bard, you end up being like, okay, so I'm like here as support. I cast 2 spells and give inspiration. That's my job.
Or like if you play a cleric and everyone's like, where's my healing word? And it's like, bruh, I'm a war cleric.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you players have specific expectations, and video games sometimes kind of make this a problem, because when you look at a video game, like, oh, this is support, this is healing, this is DPS, blah 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 blah. You end up putting yourself in that mentality even when you're playing a tabletop. Now, to be fair, sometimes when you mix those things together, you kind of get a character that doesn't function very well.
Oh yeah.
But that depends on the system more so than anything else. Pigeonholing yourself into a specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I feel like I got some good, satisfactory answers out of that question. All right, so this is my last question.
Oh shit.
It's not a big one, not a rough one.
Tea or coffee?
No, that's not a question I will ever ask on the podcast. What do you think the best rewards are? Like, would you rather get something like a little mechanical benefit? Matt, I swear to God, if you say that you'll be happy, I will.
I'm just here, man. I'm just really
throw
like you, my friends,
I will throw you out into the wilderness.
I'm just here to have fun,
let
bro.
the feral hogs
Socialize. I brought the
feral
Cheetos.
Bro,
it can be experience, it can be some kind of like mechanical benefit, like inspiration, or your spell has +2, or you get an extra die for this roll depending on the game, or this character likes you more, whatever. Doesn't matter what the reward is. Just tell me, what is your preferred reward for doing something nice, cool, etc.
Are we talking in the roleplay realm specifically?
Yeah, roleplay realm specific.
I don't know.
Because combat's usually punchy. Reward is experience item.
Yeah, I think is that true?
I know for me, it's again, like, I feel bad, but it is the RP, the character goal, like the moment, like that's the reward. And then usually players who do that, they'll get some sort of thing like, a magic item or a feat or a boon or some shit. Yeah, I feel bad because I actually do just like, I'm in it for the narrative. I'm in it for like the story moment with my character. And my devil worshipping warlock sacrificed sacrificed their best friend to get get more devil power or some shit. I don't know. I did the Thanos thing. I threw my daughter off the cliff so I can gain eternal power.
So I can gain power.
Did the Thanos thing.
I could resurrect you, or I could get power.
Yes.
Beat your ass.
Power, though.
Particularly from the roleplay side of things, I think for big roleplay moments, like sort of, the bard struts up to the fucking king's court and like makes like a dope ass speech and convinces the king to fucking retract his armies that were marching on the city or whatever. Like for big roleplay shit like that, I think I want fictional story rewards. I don't necessarily want any kind of specific mechanical benefit for like a big narrative push. If we're talking just like, if we're talking from, let's say you just rolled real good, and so, your roll real good got you a high number, then like mechanical reward, fictional thing, fictional reward is generally how I want to do it. So yeah, like if we're just talking like big, cool, crazy, like, the warlock sold his soul to the devil type shit to like get his sister back, I don't really need that to be represented mechanically.
Okay.
Like,
you'd like a clear separation between the two.
For me, I think there should be a clear separation, which is, I think, which kind of goes back to the me not liking the DM handing you a cookie, right? Because that is very much not a separation. That's like, did a role play thing, like did a fictional thing. Here's a mechanical reward.
Mhm.
Like the whole the Matengo fighting the guy that killed his dad.
Yeah.
Like I completely forgot about the sword.
Yeah.
Until he attacked me with it. And I was like, oh yeah, he has my dad's sword. Fuck.
Yeah, like the magic item.
I was just
not,
I was just doing the revenge thing. I was just
the
like,
magic
let me
item
1v1
wasn't
this
really
guy.
the important thing in that scenario.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It
Yeah,
was
I
so
mean,
cool.
hey, nobody's gonna complain about a magic item. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Bada
no,
bing.
hell no.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I have a grasp on your
Grasp on your
ideas
nutsack?
of how.
God.
No,
Huh?
I'm actually
Grab
not
his
holding that right
nuts
now.
and
Thank
twist
you
him.
very much.
Smash his nuts.
No, bailiff, smack his nuts. Okay, all right. I think that was good. I think that was a well discussed idea.
Well-made peanut butter and jelly.
That's right.
You know, it's really hard to fuck it up. You do. God damn.
Just like slap the fucking jelly
Like,
on the
imagine
table counter. You're like,
you were
fuck,
like, oh man, I got
ruined
this peanut butter and jelly, and it's just a fucking peanut butter sandwich.
it. No,
like,
you like,
damn, I fucked this up
it's like
real
bread,
bad.
How did
peanut
I
butter,
do this?
bread.
I don't
Oh, no,
understand.
where'd jelly go?
How did I?
Like, it's like, you know that little bit of jelly that like is always left on the knife. You basically tried spreading that around on the bread, and you just put it on. That's how you fucked it.
No. You just slap some peanut butter and some jelly on a plate, and someone's like, "What are you doing? Making a peanut
How'd
butter
you do
jelly
that?
sandwich?" Oh, you forgot the bread. Oh fuck!
I knew it.
They mix it up too. Like, wait, hold
Oh
on.
shit, the
Just
bread.
eating it out of a bowl with a spoon.
Oh
They
god!
try to like, they try to
Matt,
try
that's
to like
vile.
clean it up with a piece of bread, and the bread just
Oh.
keeps breaking because the
Oh.
peanut butter's not letting
Oh.
go.
Oh god! Oh, this. All right.
There you go. You go peanut butter and jelly soup. You got peanut butter, you put it in
Alright,
a bowl
yeah,
with some
this-
jelly, and
this
then
is-
you
this
just
is
break up some
getting worse
graham
and worse.
crackers or some shit.
This has been the Sessions Cancelled podcast.
Oh.
Thank you for listening to our cursed peanut butter and jelly
Holy
talk.
shit!
Yeah, well, how do you enjoy your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
Yeah,
Do
how
you
do
prefer
you
it
If,
enjoy
in
if you
peanut
bread
enjoyed
butter
or
and
any
jelly
of those
sandwich?
cursed methods,
you-
I don't want to know.
Are you like a jelly peanut butter bread kind of guy?
bread. What the fuck?
Uh,
How you feel about that bread?
Oh.
prefer
Holy
my
Christ.
peanut butter and jelly without bread.
I'm just gonna ignore all
I'm
the
a bread
PB and J
last kinda
talk,
guy.
and you know, if you like the chaos you heard, you know, give a follow or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. If you would like to keep up to date with us, please hit the follow on the Twitters, the Angry Bluebird app, and leave a comment if you have any strong
Nice catch.
opinions. Also, if you're on Spotify, you can leave a comment now. So go ahead.
Mhm.
I always
Do your
forget that
thing.
you can do that.
It's a new thing. It's very recent.
I know it's been like the last few weeks that it's
Something
been
like
around.
that, yeah.
I'm just,
So,
every time I
leave a
hear
comment.
of it, I'm like, what?
Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Do the thing. Do it. Do a little commenty count. Do a little something.
Yeah.
And now in response, I attack your creature with Vampire Nighthawk to gain a level of my Llanowar elf 2 life.
Man, I wish you knew how to play Magic. Anyways, I'm stopping.